Sean, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sean. I work in the UN in the statistics division with Alex, and I just wanted to welcome everyone to this first webinar. This is the AWS office hours. So the spirit behind this next series of meetings is to give people a chance to step into the technology stack that will be used for the Datathon in a friendly and supportive way, because when the Datathon happens, there'll be a lot of pressure to perform under constraints, and this is a nice way to get started. All right, so it's a friendly environment. Everyone's very helpful. And we have AWS here, so we have Donetsky. Is Ezel here as well?
Yes,
Ezel's here.
so.
Okay, we have Ezel. Is any other AWS? Any Spanish
Yeah.
speakers?
No.
Okay.
No Spanish speaker?
Oh,
No.
you're a Spanish
Not at this
speaker.
moment.
So
Yeah,
Donetsky
sí,
speaks
sí,
Spanish.
aquí estoy, yeah.
So if there's
Claro.
some interest, and I know that's going to be the dominant language of the Datathon, so for sure, if there's some interest in that, we can, Donetsky's here. So, but yeah, so just as a background, this Datathon is bringing together a variety of different service providers, and AWS is one of the service providers that has generously contributed to this Datathon in terms of support from fantastic people like Donetsky, but also in terms of technology expertise and use of their resources. So they're helping the participants get access to AWS resources for the duration of the Datathon. So my understanding is there won't be access before, just during. And so this Datathon is going to presume you've learned a lot, and these are opportunities to learn. So I don't want to go into too much detail on that, but this brief background, I'm Sean. We have Alex Loschke is here as well. He's the lead organizer of the Datathon. And we also have Clarence, who is supporting many of the aspects of the Datathon as well. So it's a warm welcome from us and UNSD. And so with that purpose now clear, I would like to hand it over to our AWS colleagues to kind of launch things and get us into the groove of what's going to happen next.
Thank you, Sean and Alexander and Clarence, for the opportunity to be here with you guys and help you understand a little bit more about what AWS can offer and how you can leverage AWS services during the event next month. So office hours are taking every week, starting today, and that will be the 24th as well, and the 31st, and then November 6th. And every single office hours, we're going to have a different service that we're going to be covering. Other services that you can also leverage, they were already explained in details last year. So you can reach out to the UN team and they will give you the link or the access to see those videos for you to see the other services that you can use. So today we have our team here, composed by me. My name is Dunieski Otano. I am a solutions architect dedicated to the UN Secretariat, and I've been with the company for almost 3 years, and working with different UN agencies and helping them with solutions, AWS solutions, basically. So I'm also accompanied by my colleague Izo Mohammed. He's going to introduce himself as well, and also David Duquesne, who's gonna be the presenter today. So I'm gonna pass it to them so that they can introduce themselves, and I'm gonna continue with the introduction. Izo? Uh, Seems that Izo probably has audio issues. David, can you introduce yourself?
Can you guys hear me?
Sure. Yes, we can hear you, Ezel.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Ezel Mohammed. I'm a solutions architect at AWS, working alongside Donetsky and David. I've been with the company for over 3 years now, working with several public sector organizations such as the United Nations and many other agencies around the US side. A little bit about our role is, we help and guide enterprise organizations and give technical guidance on the cloud So this could be ranging from architecture reviews in design, in the design phase, development phase. Also, another aspect of our role is we also present to you guys about particular services that can help you achieve your goals. So I'm excited today and glad to be a part of this Datathon again this year. We welcome all of you, and hopefully you will learn something new today. And I'll pass it on to my colleague, David.
Thank you, Hazel. So my name is David Duquesne. I'm working in AWS for 2 years. I'm a senior solution architect dedicated to United Nations and based in Geneva. So I will now share my screen to run the presentation. So today the idea is to cover specific concept that we can apply in a GenAI environment in order to improve accuracy. And we will see some AWS services that are useful in such a context. So you should now see my screen and I can start the presentation. Do you see something?
Yes, looks good.
Yes.
Perfect.
Good,
So
David.
let's start. So welcome to this office hour. So today, as I said, we will discuss about generative AI. So the idea is to run this presentation first, and then we will have a demonstration before a Q&A. So you can wait for this Q&A session after to raise your question, or you can also use the chat at any moment if you want to raise something. The objective with this presentation is really to highlight a quite popular technique that we have to support large language model and implement various use cases. The concept that we will describe here is RAG, so Retrieval Augmented Generation. RAG is the acronym, and it is designed to improve AI solution accuracy. So let's start. So here is the agenda. We will describe first the problem that we want to address, the use case. I will describe the retrieval augmented generation concept and explain why it's relevant to solve this use case. Then I will introduce the two main functions that we need in addition of the large language model to implement this technique. These two functions are semantic extraction and similarity search. We will look at their implementation. With all this context in mind, we will be able to describe the complete RAG workflow. And before closing, we will quickly highlight the next evolution, the AI agent, which use RAG in the background as a building block to improve user experience even more. So let's focus on a common use case that we can find in many industries, a bit everywhere. So a chatbot enhanced with a specific trustable enterprise data. We want this chatbot to answer questions on a specific domain with the highest possible accuracy and the most up-to-date information. This is our main requirement. We also want to know where the information is coming from and potentially access the data source, the source of the information. So in this context, trust is a key, and it's really key to make this tool useful in a professional context. If you can't trust the tool, it's useless. So here we have an example. So it's a basic chatbot with a user prompt where a user can ask any type of question about insurance product for a specific insurance customer. The response are tailored for this specific customer. So in this case, the chatbot gives a recommendation based on house value. And in addition, it also provides some suggested action. So the question is how to build such a solution, which technology to use, which concept to implement. So let's look at the concept first behind such a tool before diving in the technology. So
David,
if you want, yes.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you for 1 second? I will make an announcement in Spanish just very briefly. So, por favor, no cambien el idioma hablado de la reunión porque eso cambia el idioma para todos y modifica los subtítulos. Si quieren cambiar el idioma de los subtítulos, por favor enciendan los subtítulos y ahí va a haber un símbolo de, ¿cómo se llama eso? Granaje. Hacen clic ahí y ahí pueden cambiar el idioma de los subtítulos si quieren, ¿no? Para los que quieren hacer eso. Pero por favor no cambien el idioma hablado. Gracias. Sorry, David, please go ahead.
Thank you. So if you want to generate accurate and up-to-date answers for a question in a specific domain, you cannot only rely on internal model knowledge accumulated at training time. This can lead to inaccurate or wrong answer, also named hallucination in the GenAI context. Prompt engineering is a free technique helping to mitigate this issue. So it's basically what you do when you rephrase your question in different way to improve the answer. But it's possible to go a step further. The objective is to get a subject matter expert answer from a basic question. And to achieve this, you need to feed the model with an extra context. And RAG define a workflow to generate and insert this context, this extra information into the prompt. So first, we need a document corpus tackling the specific topic that we want to address. We don't want to use our entire library as a context for any user question. The first reason is that the prompt window is limited. This is due to the model working behind the scene. Second reason, models with large window are more expensive to operate because of computing and memory requirements. And the last reason is information dilution. So too much noise from the context could eventually appear in the generated answer. So less is more. We need specific, accurate information and not a ton of information that are irrelevant. So for those reasons, we need to do more. We need a mechanism to extract the semantic and isolate the most relevant document from the library. When we receive a user prompt, we use the same mechanism to extract semantic from the question. And then we can compare the user prompt, so the question, and the document from a semantic perspective. This comparison helps to find the most relevant document in the library, and this document becomes the extra context that we are looking for to help the model answering. We inject this context in the user prompt, and then the LLM can rephrase the prompt and answer the question in a more concise way. So the LLM is then used for its ability to talk and not anymore for its ability to know. We do not rely on the model knowledge. We bring the knowledge and we ask the model to rephrase it. So as mentioned, semantic extraction and similarity search are the two extra mechanisms that we need to implement RAG. So we will look at semantic extraction first. So the question is how to represent semantic with a machine readable representation. One possible solution is to use a vector. A vector, it's a mathematical object made with numbers to represent several dimensions. Each dimension in a vector can represent a semantic concept, and we need a process that can scan a text document to create a vector in a semantic space. And the name of this process is embedding, so the capability to translate a text into a vector. So how to implement embedding? We need a model for this to transform the text into high-dimensional vector, and the number of dimensions can range from hundreds to even thousands. It depends on the model that you use. So let's have a look to this text to vector model. It's looking like this. Most of the large language model that we use at the moment are now based on the transformers design that has been released in 2017. This model architecture has two main parts, the encoder on the left and the decoder on the right. So we talk about text-to-text LLM when using this whole architecture. So the decoder can generate text by predicting the next word in a sequence. On the other side, the encoder is useful for tasks that require to transform the content, like automatic translation, for example. The encoder in this context can influence the decoder process to transform the decoder input. And this is the way we can eventually translate from one language to another. Coming back to the embedding, so how this architecture is useful to embed our content or text. So the embedding process, it leverages only the encoder part of the transformer to implement a text-to-vector model. So the self-attention mechanism, which is at the heart of the transformer design, will extract the semantic from a sentence or a paragraph. A classification head is introduced at the top to convert the encoder output into a single vector with the expected number of dimensions that you can predefine. Then we have extracted semantic, and we can now look at the second operation that we missed to implement RAG, it's similarity search. We have just described semantic extraction. We use vector to represent semantic. And now we want to implement similarity search using those vectors that we have extracted. A vector, it's a list of ordered number defining coordinate in a multidimensional space. And we can use algebra to manipulate vector. That's the main reason why we are using vector, because it's machine readable and we can use matrix and algebra to manipulate those points. So which algebra are we using in this context? It's dot product, cosine distance, Euclidean distance. Those three formula will help to compute the distance between two vectors. That's what we are looking for. So these three measures can really determine the similarity between two different vectors, so between different semantic concepts. So those three formula have different level of complexity. The simplest one is the dot product, while cosine and Euclidean distance require more computation. So at the end, we can use one of those three formula to compare the vector and perform similarity search. So let's see how vector similarity can help in a search process. So the vector can represent an object. It can be text or image. So on this example, we use an image. We have an object collection on the right side where each object, is a vector. So we have a similarity score function to compare them. So one of the three formula that we have just seen before. And using one of those three functions, we can measure the difference between all those objects we have in our inventory and a reference object on the left that we want to compare with our collection to find some similar picture, similar image. So we know now what is a vector. We know which metric to use to measure vector similarity. We know also how to find similar vector in a data set. We can now look in more detail at vector database. So a vector database offers storage and indexation for vector and metadata. Vector database also implement search algorithm based on the formula that we have just discussed. The search query can be scoped with dataset or result filtering before or after query processing. So this is a a good mechanism to filter the output based on any criteria that you want. And AWS offer multiple database services with extra feature to manage vector efficiently. So here are three examples among others. The first one is Amazon Relational Database Service with PostgreSQL Engine. It's possible with this service to enable the PG vector extension to index and search vector. You can use SQL language to find the most similar record compared to the reference query. Then we have the second option, OpenSearch, Amazon OpenSearch. It's the Elasticsearch fork that AWS managed for you to provide lexical search as a service. As RDS, you can get an extra vector feature using some extension. And if you are already using OpenSearch for lexical search, then OpenSearch can be a good option also to manage vector. And the third one, the third preferred option is Amazon Kendra. So Kendra does not need any extension because it natively implements semantic search as a service. So it's fully managed. Kendra offers more than 40 connectors to ingest data from different data sources. It can be file, it can be website, or some external third-party system. And the embedding operation is also included into the solution. So at the end, it's a low-code, fully managed solution that you can easily leverage through an API. So now that we know how to extract semantic from content and find content with similar semantic, we can review the RAG process, so the Retrieval Augmented Generation. So the first phase, it's to build the knowledge base using enterprise documents covering the specific topic that you want to tackle. We need the embedding LLM and the vector database to create vector and index them. So we have those three components. The ingest process requires a dedicated application. This application will split the document into text chunk. A chunk, it can be a sentence or a paragraph, and we need to be careful when selecting the chunk size. Long chunk can help to keep context, but it can also add some noise. And on the other side, a short chunk can be more accurate, but they can also miss the document context that we want to preserve. So once we have done the chunking in our ingest application, we can forward this to the embedding model in order to transform those text chunks into a semantic vector. We retrieve this vector from the model. We pass it to the vector database. The vector database will index the vector plus the document chunk and the associated metadata that we can use later for filtering purpose. At this stage, we have a knowledge base with relevant data to support user queries. We can build our chat application exposed to the end user. We need for this a text-to-text LLM to support this second application and generate the answer based on the user prompt. So here it is. So now user can send their question to the chat application backend through a prompt. The question semantic is extracted via the same embedding model that we used before to process our document. We get a vector related to the user question, and we can use it to find similar vector in the vector database. So we want to compare the question with all the chunk that we have already in our database. We get the relevant chunk, and we can insert them in the user prompt as an additional context. And then we eventually feed the large language model to generate an answer using question plus the context. And we forward the result to the end user. So the LLM will use this context, rephrase it, create a more concise answer, and forward this to the end user. So how to implement this in few clicks using AWS service? Bedrock knowledge base. It's an Amazon Bedrock feature. So you can use it to build a knowledge base from your document. You can select the vector database technology to store your vector embedding. We provide integration with different products, including Amazon OpenSearch and Aurora that we have discussed just before. Then you can provide your document in an Amazon S3 bucket, so it's a storage as a service, and Bedrock will manage the embedding and the indexation for you. After this operation, Bedrock will also automatically use this knowledge base to get an extra context before generating any answer. So at the end, it's a fully managed retrieval augmented generation workflow. All the operation we have described just before are fully orchestrated and managed by AWS in the background. So RAG, at the end, it's a solution. You can implement this workflow to improve your chatbot, but you can also consider RAG as a building block for another type of AI-based solution. And we will discuss this quickly as a takeaway. I will briefly introduce this concept, the AI agent. So what is an AI agent and how is it using RAG? So an AI agent orchestrates interaction between foundation model, data source, application, and user conversation. So the objective with this, with those different building blocks, is to achieve a predefined task. So we want an agent able to do something. So as I said, we have four main building blocks. So the instruction, you write instruction that describe what the agent is designed to do. So it's basically prompt engineering. You define a prompt. You have several prompts to define. Then we have a foundation model. It's an LLM. The agent will use this LLM to interpret user input and all the subsequent prompts in the orchestration process. We have a list of actions. Those actions are programmatic interface to external system or process to execute a business logic. And the knowledge base that we have discussed so far, implemented with RAG, this is useful to get extra context and augment the response generation. So the agent takes a request from the user. It then establishes a plan to answer this question using an LLM. And then it will execute this plan using knowledge base and business logic before returning a valid answer. The agent then goes beyond the classic chatbot discussion. It's not only discussion anymore. The agent can leverage action to trigger concrete execution and work. Here is a typical agent workflow in more detail. So we can see the four different components that we have just discussed. The idea is really to highlight the different building blocks. So an agent definition at the beginning is a prompt describing the action and knowledge base that are available for the agent to perform the task that are requested. The agent can break down the user request into steps. So it's the famous plan. And then it will execute the answer plan step by step and retrieve the relevant data. And once those relevant data have been collected, it can use those data with the original user question to build the final answer. That's how an agent is working. So it's time for the demo. So we will briefly have a look to Bedrock, this AWS service that we offer to implement RAG, but also the agent. So let me open the console. And let me also show you a document. So on the right, you can see this document. It's a report from a general assembly meeting. This is a type of document, public document, that we can use to build a knowledge base. So you can see that we have here 42 pages. It's really long. And if you are looking for specific information, it's maybe more relevant to rely on a tool to extract relevant information. So let's see what we can do with AWS. So we have here an S3 bucket, so a storage, object storage, where we have a list of documents. Those PDF documents are like the one we have just seen before. So we have a list of documents here. And the idea is to leverage Bedrock to process those documents and use them in a chatbot context. So if we look at Bedrock, you can see that it comes with, it's an AWS service. You can access it through the web console. You also have access through the API, the CLI, all the different interfaces that are available. Looking at the GUI, we have here the web console. So you can see that on the left side, we have many different sections with different features. The first one that you can test is the playground. The playground will give you access to all the foundation model available in Bedrock, and you will be able to type any kind of prompt to test the LLM that you want to use. So here, let's do a quick test. Let's ask a question with this prompt. So we need to first write a prompt, and we can ask a question. We get an answer. So this answer is fully based on the model knowledge, the model that has been accumulated by the model at training time. So it's valid at training time, but then a few months later or few years later, if you do not retrain your model, the information will start to be obsolete. So then this is the first option, the first thing you can do. And then you can use knowledge base. So knowledge base is also available through the Bedrock GUI in the dedicated section. Here I have one knowledge base. This knowledge base is attached to the S3 bucket we have just seen before. And I can also use the web console to test this knowledge base. And I can put exactly the same prompt here and ask my question. And I will get also again an answer, but this answer will also provide source attribution. Source attribution are some kind of reference to the document that have been used to compute this answer. And this is really important to trust the answer. So you can check where this answer comes from, and you can make sure that it comes from a trustable document. And then you can use this answer because it's useful for you and you can trust it. So here we can see the different chunks that have been retrieved from the vector database and used by the LLM, by the text-to-text LLM to compute the final answer. So here three different chunks have been used, and we can even check from which document those different chunks come from. So this is the second option. So you use the knowledge base and you get more trustable information because you can check using source attribution where the information is coming from. The last option is the agent. So Bedrock is also providing agent as a service. You also have a dedicated section in the web console to create and build an agent. So in this section, we can see that we have an agent. It's ready to be used. This agent is in fact made of different components. So we have the prompt we discussed so far to define the agent. We have the LLM that the agent can leverage during the orchestration to compute the different content and especially the answer plan, the plan to execute in order to answer the user question. And then one of the most important part is the action group. Here, the action group are the different function business logic that are implemented using real code. You can implement those functions using Python, using JavaScript. It's based on Lambda. Lambda is a serverless compute service offered by AWS. So we use this in the background to run some code and call external API in order to execute action. So it's not only a discussion between you and a chatbot, you can also perform some action in the background and give some order to the system using natural language to achieve something really concrete. And the last one is the knowledge base. We can attach a knowledge base, so it's optional. You can also only rely on the different functions that are assigned to this agent. So let's try this agent and let's ask again the same question. Who is Antonio Gutierrez? We will see what comes out. So it's a bit longer because it's running in the background. We have those different action plans that are computed, then the action plan is executed. As part of the action plan, we have some Lambda function. The Lambda function must run, return the result, and then we get the answer. So here we can see that we have a biography of Antonio Gutierrez, including many information regarding his background, his past position, and his role now as part of the United Nations. And if we look at the orchestration, at the trace, what we call a trace, it's in fact the different steps that have been performed by the model, by the agent in the background to create the answer. So here we have a first step. One conclusion from the first step is that to provide a detailed biography and presentation about Antonio Gutierrez, I will use the biography writer function. So this function is available. It has been designed and developed especially to build, to craft a biography from a specific person. So the agent will run this function, providing the relevant parameter. So here the function parameter is this one, and the value is Antonio Gutierrez. So based on this, the function will be able to retrieve information from a database regarding Antonio Gutierrez and then compute the result. So second step, it's to use those information coming from the Lambda function and compute the answer that is eventually returned to the end user. So that's it for the demonstration. So let me come back to the slide. So now I think we can start the Q&A. So it's time for you if you want to discuss, if you have questions about what we have discussed so far. We are here with Dunieski and Ezel to answer.
Yeah, thanks, David. I just wanted to mention, so if you want to ask a question live, yeah, raise your hand and we will give you the possibility to unmute yourself. So I see a question by Alberto is having the hand up, so I give him the floor now. Please go ahead.
Hello, team. I hope you are fine today. I have a question for you today. Well, I would like to know if we could get more information about to build this bot you are teaching us today. So it's really interesting. I had a course in machine learning and AI, but I having it began right now. So I'm gonna take it this next week. So I would like to know that.
Yes, sure. Indeed, we have many resources to help you in starting such a project. We have different blog posts that we can forward to you, explaining step by step how to create a knowledge base, how to create an agent using the GUI. So it's basically point and click. We also have, if you have a developer and if you want to use the SDK, we also have some example in different public repository. So we can definitely build a compilation of those information and forward this to you. Yes, it's possible.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
And one thing I just wanted to add, team, is that all the things that you have seen right now that David has presented, it can be done through the CLI and the SDK. So you can programmatically use all the services that you just seen right now.
Do we have other question?
Dunieski, if you were,
I wanted to add that during the Datathon, you guys are going to be provided with an AWS account, and also with the AWS account, you're going to be provided with the access keys, which allow you to access the AWS account from outside of it, like programmatically from the CLI and SDKs, just like Iso mentioned. And you'll be able to, from the front end, to be able to make calls to the AWS services and authenticate it. So that's something that you guys are going to be provided with. If someone has a question in Spanish, go ahead and ask it. We can answer it if we have the information, of course. Anderson, right? It's the person that raised their hand.
Go ahead, Anderson.
Anderson, si tienes alguna pregunta, hazla.
I think he's on mute.
Anderson, tiene que abrir el micrófono, está activado. Supuestamente. Dice que no. So I cannot unmute yours. You need to do that yourself.
Anderson, if you can just post the question in the chat, we'll be happy to take it.
Okay. ¿Alguien más tiene una pregunta? Someone else has a question? Please raise your hand.
It seems that the presentation was very clear, right?
So I see Alberto. Alberto, please come in.
Thank you very much. Well, I have another question. How long will be the course available on the platform?
72 hours. Since the day the Datathon starts, we start the event. It's going to be open for 72 hours.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe I can say something on that as well. So we will share more information about the exact schedule of the Datathon at a later point, probably sometime early next week. So there will be an opening ceremony on Friday the 8th. The official competition period starts Saturday morning and goes through Monday evening. So it's a little bit less than 72 hours. But you can already prepare before the official start of the Datathon, downloading data, and also think about what exactly you want to do. So you're not prevented from doing that. So
there's a question by Joanne. He's asking about a course. I don't know what they mean by courses, but if they're talking about the AWS account, is going to be provided, and the event's going to be started the day of the Datathon. I don't know what they meant by courses in this case.
Yeah.
If you need resources to learn about those services, we have a ramp-up guide publicly available, referencing free training provided by AWS. So it can also be a good starting point before diving deep in the console, trying to experiment. You can first pass through such a course or presentation, explaining you in more detail how it works, because we just provided a really high level overview of what you can do. But of course, we have some training material that are free and publicly available, and we can also forward the ramp-up guide associated to AIML, so you can check those courses and learn more about Bedrock and generative AI.
There's a question about the free tier for Bedrock. I'm checking in the AWS documentation. I see that Bedrock doesn't have a free tier. Can you confirm that, David and Isil? I don't see a free tier about Bedrock.
Yeah, but it's important to let the participants know they will have access to Bedrock. So we will provide them with accounts that will give them access, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe the question is about if they want to start before, like experimenting
that could be.
with Bedrock. Yeah.
I see also Neil has her hand up, or him.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
please
you.
go ahead.
Well, I know you're doing some how to say this. You're teaching us the basics of what are the tools that we can use for this Datathon, no? In these 72 hours. But I was just going to ask you if there is some courses online where we can just practice these tools furthermore, so we can be more prepared. Because being honest, I have not been in touch with these technologies and for some time, so I really don't have in mind what they can be used for or not. And I know that you have explained it, but I just can't get in my mind exactly what I can do with those tools if I can touch them.
Yes, I understand. In terms of practice, we will need to double check what is achievable with Bedrock, because if there is no free tier, I assume that there is no free lab to touch with these services. We need to double check this, and we will come back to you. We have some tool to experiment with AWS to have a kind of lab environment. Most of the time, it's also based on free tier. But Bedrock is maybe peculiar, so we will need to double check, and we can come back to you. I understand that what you are looking for is a kind of safe lab environment where you can access the console and play by creating resources that will be automatically destroyed after your experimentation. Is it what you are looking for?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. We need to double check to see what is possible. We have such a mechanism, such a tool for anyone to experiment, but we need to check if it's include Bedrock or not. I'm not sure. So we will come back to you about this.
And Neil, also, if you take a look at last year's Datathon, we have a couple of sessions that we created, office hour sessions. They cover some of the high-level aspects of AWS, like the services and what they entail. So if you can just maybe take a look at those and as a starting point, and then we can surely help you out.
Yeah, we're taking notes of all of the things that you guys are asking about. We're gonna be sending a follow-up email later with all these action points. And my advice for you guys is, if you're experimenting with AWS, always check the pricing for that service particularly, so you're not surprised with the bill at the end of the month. So it's very important that you're clear about this when using AWS. If the service is not included in the free tier, if it is included in the free tier, as long as you stay within those parameters, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And just reiterating, during the competition, there will be no bill, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
72 hours for free.
And you can also look at partner solution. We have some partner in the learning landscape that provide sandbox, AWS sandbox. So you pay a static fee. So it's a low fee, which is static, and you can use AWS resources. It gives you an account for 4 hours, and in 4 hours, you can do whatever you want. After 4 hours, the account is completely destroyed. Everything disappears. You won't pay for anything. You just pay for the static fee. And you can restart a new account a bit later. And it's something that is available on different learning platforms provided by some partner. But we also have, I think we also have some sandbox internally on AWS side. We need to double check this, what is achievable, which type of service you could access using those sandbox. But I understand the sandbox is more what you are looking for. You want a safe environment where you can spin up whatever resources without having to care about the cost. And yeah, that's the definition for sandbox. So we will look at this and come back to you with a different option.
Yeah, two things that I want to point out is, one of them is, just to add to what David said, we have something called Skill Builder. That's something that you guys can check, and there are courses there that AWS offers. Some of them are free, some of them are not. But in those courses, you're gonna get what just David mentioned, like labs and sandbox accounts that you can use in the course, and then it will be destroyed afterwards. And also, I wanted to say that you guys don't have to provide any accounts or anything. We're providing the account for you guys. But what you need to do during the Datathon, you have to request availability of the model. That's something that doesn't come with the account when you create it. But we're gonna help you with that in the wiki and instructions of that, how to request access to the model, because by default, it's not available.
And
okay.
So we have two more hands up. So Esteban and then Diana. Esteban, please unmute yourself. If you cannot speak, maybe put the question in the chat. Diana, can you please try to unmute yourself and ask your question?
She's asking in Spanish.
Okay. In Spanish is fine, right?
Yeah, she said, I have a question in regards to the topic. How do you integrate the concepts of vectors and logic of objects in our current challenge? Would that be with the programming language specifically, or would that be with focus on data? Thank you. I mean, for the, should I answer in Spanish? Okay.
Yes, please.
Para el desafío que tenemos ahora, Diana, según lo que David está hablando, es que todo depende del caso de uso que tú tengas. Si estás construyendo algo de RAG, de lo que él explicó durante la presentación, los vectores son importantes porque es lo que ayuda a vectorizar la búsqueda en la base de datos. Cuando tú creas una RAG, uno de los pasos es crear una vector store, una base de datos de vectores para poder almacenar los vectores ahí, y ahí poder utilizar los vectores para poder tener la búsqueda más rápida. So eso parte de eso. Y alguien preguntó, someone asked, is it required to use Bedrock? Well, it depends on the use case. Bedrock has a specific use case, right? It depends on what you guys are doing, right? No sé si contesté la pregunta, Diana.
Okay, muchas gracias. Yeah, okay, good. So Esteban, you want to try to come in once more?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, my question was regarding, you mentioned we only have access for 72 hours, right? So if, for example, we build a knowledge base, I mean, we upload the data, I don't know exactly how the data will look like, but if we upload things to our given AWS account, I mean, how will the tool persist after if we lose access to the AWS account, for example?
It won't persist. It will disappear. After 72 hours, we destroy everything, basically.
So how should we build like the tool? Sorry, yeah, because the solution we propose. Yes, go ahead.
Stefan, all the artifacts that you create during the Datathon, you have to download them. You cannot keep them in S3 because you will lose them. So that account is completely destroyed. It disappears after 72 hours. So we recommend that you download everything that is important that you're going to use for artifacts you're going to submit to the panel. So that's very important that you do it before the 72 hours expire.
And if you have the possibility, try to use infrastructure as code the most you can. So if you create something, then you will be able to replicate what you have done in another AWS account. If you do everything using the web console, then it will be really complex for you to export what you have done. And I'm not talking about data here. The data will be erased completely, and you will need to re-upload those data anyway. But the whole configuration that you will create in AWS, this could stay on your side if you use infrastructure as code like Terraform or CloudFormation to define the configuration, the AWS configuration and architecture that you want to build. So then when the account is destroyed, you will have the possibility to reuse this code later with another AWS account if you want.
Yes, and also in addition to what David and Dineski just mentioned, always try to document everything you create. So whenever you create a resource or anything, try to document them, create snippets, all this stuff. You just make sure you have that saved somewhere. So when the 72 hours reaches, you don't lose all your hard work.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing. So we will share additional information in one of the 2 upcoming webinars. So we will have 2 larger webinars, one on the 23rd of October and one on the 30th of October, where we will share additional information. And we will also share information during the second webinar, I believe, how the submission process during the Datathon works. Basically, what you need to submit, where you need to submit, right? We will provide you with additional information about that.
And team, I wanted to add that the support doesn't end after the office hours. I'm myself going to be there in person with you guys. Isa's going to be online as well, supporting. And we're going to have 2 essays or 3 essays local from Colombia in the Datathon as well. So you're going to receive support in person as well for whatever questions you guys have during the event. I see Diana has 2 questions. I think I answered one. Does she have another one? Diana, ¿tienes otra pregunta? Are you going to demo the integration of Bedrock and CloudFront or similar? I don't think we have time for that today, or we are covering other services during the upcoming office hours, so we won't have time to but we can find probably some documentation online on how to do that, and we can share that. But it's possible. It's possible. There are two different services. One is for CloudFront is for delivery of assets globally, and Bedrock is for AI applications. So Bedrock for the back end, CloudFront for the front end. So they could be integrated. But I don't think we will have time to do a demo during the office hours.
Yeah. Okay, I think we scheduled the office hours for 1 hour, so we're touching basically the end of the allotted time. I just wanted to mention 2-3 more things. So you will still receive additional emails, first of all, regarding the upcoming office hours of AWS and also of Esri, also, the other major partner in this competition. So please have a look at those. You will receive calendar invites to those office hours. We are still working on reviewing the registrations of all teams. So we will come back to you with the official acceptance sometime next week. Please join the 2 upcoming webinars that I have mentioned. Those are really, really important. Please be there. And I also want to mention that next week, on the 23rd, when we have the webinar, we will also make our documentation wiki accessible. This is a very, very important resource for you all, where you will find information about all the available data sources and all the available technology tools, including AWS and Esri and other tools that will be available to you. Okay.
Alexander, there's a question there that is important.
The unregistered people. Well, in principle, registration is closed right now. If you want, please write an email to Clarence. Can you share the Datathon email address that goes to Rudane?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So please, Diego, please write to that email address that we put in the chat. And then we can maybe let us know where you are located and so on, maybe which university you go to or where you work. And then we can maybe try to accommodate you in some other team, right, that already exists. But we are not going to allow additional new teams, right? Okay, so write to this email address that is in the chat. Okay. Yeah. So Diego, if you have already a team and you don't have already 5 team members, that could also be an option, right? Then you can add an additional team member to your team. You have 5. Okay. Yeah, write us an email and then we can see what we can do. All right. I think that would be all for today. Muchas
Alex,
gracias.
do you mind if I, yep, just the recording will be available either later today or tomorrow morning on the website, so you can check there.
Okay, great. Muchas gracias. Thanks a lot, Donieski, David, SL. And thanks to everyone for joining today. Join us again next Tuesday is the first office hour of our colleagues from Esri. And then the next AWS office hour is on Thursday. And just to make things not too boring, on Wednesday, we have the first webinar, the bigger one. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.